It's I think it's 4:45 or 10:05 or something. The birds are up. The sun's about to come up. I'm gonna whip out there, and the wind's probably gonna come up too. So I'm gonna whip out there and see if I can't catch something on the camera, and then come back in. Maybe make some shares, possibly, but I think we're gonna go down and find our First Nations superhero lady in her home remote coastal village. She doesn't know it. I think that'd be really good. Maybe we might even stay overnight down there and see if we can't get some valuable knowledge shared from her today. Maybe that'd be great. But anyway, here we go. Be getting quite windy today. I went out around the corner, which is outside of the safety of the inner inlet, but should have a few hours to safely fish before it really picks up, and that'll head her in. Here comes the sun. I'll show you the sunrise right now. There it comes, traveling fast. That's what I'm looking at, and that's where I came from, around that point. Oh, look. An angler getting up out of bed. Alright, let's get this day going. There's more going. Alright. That was an insane morning. Not one of the better ones, but pretty exciting to say the least. So we were the first ones to leave the dock before daylight. Got out there, and one of my downriggers, which you need to have to fish this electric, has a 15-pound ball of lead. It sends that ball of lead down, and you clip on your fishing gear onto it. Well, my brand new one decided it wasn't going to work this morning. Don't know why. Worked last night when we pulled the prawn traps. So now I got one rod. And then there's huge swells going out around the corner where it's been stormy the past few days, so we took a chance going up there. Then the fog came in. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. All I want to do is videotape fishing underwater. So we got one rod, threw the one rod out there. Boom! Got a great big salmon on. Actually, I'm pretty sure I got it on the camera. I'll share it here now if I did. Anyways, that fish got off. That's fine. And then we kept on fishing, and then all of a sudden something hit the line so hard, I'm like, holy cow, this is a big one. And then Sarah grabbed this camera we're talking to you right now and started recording. And then all of a sudden a seal came up out of the water. I'm like, oh no, seal's got my salmon. Shit. They do that often, right? And then you can't win. So she's videotaping, the seal's going, ripping away. And then he snapped the line off and reeled it in. And then we checked the GoPro, which was down there, videotaping underwater. And if the seal didn't come up to check out the camera underwater, and then the leader to the hook, the bait, got hooked in his armpit or something and hooked him. I hooked a seal on video underwater, 1 in a million billion. I've never hooked a seal in my life. So that was pretty interesting. And he took off, and he's rolling around on top. I think Sarah may have got it on video. I'm not sure. I'll show it now if she did. Because the sun was really, really bright, beaming down through that fog, and it's tough to see in the viewfinder, but... That's exciting. Got him on the camera, I hope. Feels like, oh, look at that. No, it's a seal. Seal's got it. Oh! Oh, that sucks. Look at it. See that?
Yeah.
No. Zoom in on the seal?
No.
Huh?
I couldn't. Okay.
See him?
No.
Right there. Right there, see him?
Yeah. Yeah. Is the seal on the hook?
Yeah.
You caught a seal?
Yeah. That's the first. Well, he grabbed my salmon.
Oh.
There you go, that's what happened. Crazy morning. So now we've come back into the inlet, bashed away around the corner on the outside of the point. Cape Beale, if you want to Google it, Cape Beale. Over 100 ships have sank there and many people have died there in years gone by. And there's probably, 12 to 14 foot waves chopping straight up with the tide going out against the swell coming in, so it's pretty gnarly coming in. So there you go, there's my spiel. So it's going to be a bit of a relaxed time. I'm going to share some people's voices right now, and then after we're going to go back into the dock and do some repairs. And I just got word that one of our First Nations friends is at our childhood neighborhood in a remote village, not too far from here. And hopefully she's still there, and we're going to go down there and surprise her and visit her. Maybe she'll share some knowledge online with us on video. That'd be great. So that's the plan. That's the day so far. Now, who do we got? Mark, this is red. Listen to this. Hopefully the wind's not licking the camera too bad. This is titled Pinned Me Down. Hi Steve, I just want to share a weird event that happened to me on May 30th, 2023. Wow. As I've shared with you before, I'm a professional timber faller. You can see me, alright. Anyhow, I was at work and I was talking with the hot saw operator who started asking me about Bigfoot, since I have a few stickers on my truck. One BLM sticker, bracket, Bigfoot Lives Matter, and he wanted to know if I go out hunting for Bigfoot. By the way, he's the First Nations man. I told him no. Though I've had half a dozen encounters with them, I don't go looking for them, or beat trees and hoot and holler in the woods, like many of the idiots on TV. I told him I'm out here doing my thing, and they're out here doing their thing. That's just good enough for me. He then proceeded to tell me that just that morning or the days before, he didn't make it clear, that he had one howling in the distance, and then another one, a smaller one, answered back. and that was very close to him, and it ran off through the timber in the direction of the first distant howl. Well, that evening at my base camp, as I was in a state of half asleep but fully aware of my surroundings, I was in my bed with my eyes closed when suddenly I felt something press down on my covers on both sides of my shoulder, pinning me to the bed. Wow. I did not open my eyes, but in my mind's eye I could see/sense a blackness directly above me. My only thought that came to me was this. In my head I said, "What are you doing? Stop it right now. In the name of Jesus, go away." The whole event lasted seconds. Then it released the pressure on my blankets and was gone. It's so freaking bizarre how that shit happens and how common it is. And it's really, really hard to wrap your brain around that. Steve, I was in my camper trailer, doors locked, windows closed. Nothing came in through those avenues or left. I don't know what it was. And I was really hesitant to even talk about it. But I will say, having listened to your channel and the variety of emails you have read, I was not afraid. Maybe if I had opened my eyes, it might have been. And the advice of many in this round table of knowledge, I responded calmly and with authority. Thanks, Steve, for all who have shared here. I don't know what it was, but the fact it occurred on the very same evening as when I was talking with the First Nations man operating the hot saw, I found coincidentally telling. And no, I still don't go looking for sabe, nor do I have any desire to. Thanks again, George Williams Sr., signing out. Okay, thanks, George. I believe I've heard from you before, and I think you have a son who's a logger too, don't you? That's scary. I'm not down with that shit. I don't want that stuff in my life. I don't know what I would do if I had to experience that. Alright. Who's next? It's titled Home Alone. Well, here goes. My name is Sunday Monday. I know, funny, but my father wanted a boy and I turned out to be a girl. That never stopped my dad from taking me on all the boy activities. Fishing and camping in the Sierra Mountains of California and the Ozarks as a young'un. Dad always said, watch out for Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I always thought he was just trying to keep me close to him. I never believed it was real. I've now lived in Missouri and the Ozarks for 39 years, and I've had a few close encounters with her. My first encounter was in '84. The first time seeing her, it was twilight. I was in my house. I was 14 years old. I was home alone as it was our first year in the Ozarks. Mom and Dad were working an hour away in Branson, Missouri. I heard my dogs barking and whining. I had a timber wolf and a large bird dog that were never afraid of any animals we had in our woods. My dad said, always be alert to the dogs. They will let you know if there's anything else around the house. So I went to the back deck where my dogs were. As soon as I walked outside, I looked in the direction they were barking. They were barking towards the pond that had a 3 to 4 foot tall rim of dirt around the edge of it. What I seen was a large reddish animal leaning over the pond wall using its hand to drink out of the pond with his hand. Then I told my dogs to go get it. And they hadn't heard me come out because as says, I told them to go get it. They both whined loudly and ran behind me in the house. I'd never seen my dogs back down from anything, let alone whining. I looked back at the animals, stand straight up. I heard in my head, why would you do that? I thought it must have meant sicking the dogs on her. She was no animal. Standing less than 100 feet from me was standing an orangutan-colored female Sasquatch staring at me. It was only a few seconds, but it was like time stopped. She was surprised to see me too. She was very human-like in the face, not much hair on the face, grayish skin. She turned to walk away. She was covered in hair down her back and legs with a large bump. She turned her body to the right to look back at me one more time, and she walked into the woods behind my house and she was gone. I immediately felt bad about trying to make the dogs get her. I went inside and turned everything off in the house, TV, lights, etc. I sat in the corner of the living room with a bat. Fell asleep on the floor in the corner with no memory of falling asleep. Mom and Dad came home, wanted to know why I was in the corner asleep with a bat. I told them what I saw, and they laughed at me and told me no more scary movies. But as a kid, I refused to go to the car in our driveway for items left in the vehicle at night. Thanks for listening to my story. Boom. Enter another member of the Club of No Return. Thanks for sending that in. More parents that laugh at their kids. Not fair, not good, not cool. Kind of sucks hearing that, right? Kind of sucks when people scoff and laugh at their kids. It sucks. I don't know if your parents are alive. If they are, maybe you want to send this video to them. Let them know that there's literally thousands of people having the same experience, right? Without your parents, without your family, without anybody, I mean, who do you got, right? When you're a kid, who do you got? I guess you got everybody here now, right? Alright. Let's see if we can hear another one. It's feeling kind of windy. I don't know if it's licking that camera or not. This title, Please Help, third attempt. Also, pieces to the puzzle. Okay, Steve, quick note. I originally sent in this email on June 8th, but forgot to add the Toronto police officer's encounter. I sent the original from my Gmail account. If you search, you should find it. I also sent this current email from this account on June 9th, but forgot to add the pictures of whatever it was I had seen. Sorry about all the confusion. I figured I'd give it a third attempt to see if this one is the charm, LOL. Hopefully you find this email first and can disregard the other ones as they are pretty much the same email as this one. I want to start off by saying thank you for everything you and Sarah do. It takes two to tango, and I have much respect for all the hard work you two do. True respect and love is hard to come by because it is earned. I've been following your channel for years now, and I've been blown away by how many people have encountered these ancient beings. You're an inspiration to us all, and keep on fighting the good fight. I myself have had some truly strange experiences over the years, and will gladly share some of them with you and everybody here. I first want to reach out for any help you can provide. My wife Kayla was recently diagnosed with cervical cancer, and we have been bouncing all over Ontario, meeting with cancer specialists and radiologists, trying to figure out the best treatment for her. At first, they were pushing to do a 6-week treatment, which was a combination of chemotherapy and radiation. Once a week chemo and radiation every day. We went to meet the radiologist, and she suggested us getting a second opinion. She said perhaps Kayla could get surgery to remove the cancer from the surgeon, since it's not too large to remove and hasn't spread. So we opt for a radical hysterectomy, which is scheduled for early July. She'll be able to work for 6 to 8 weeks and also isn't eligible for any compensation. We recently started a GoFundMe, and we really appreciate if you could share with everyone in this wonderful community. I've copied and pasted the link here. Okay, listen up. GoFundMe. One more time. https://gofund.me/8EE3BA7E. Alright, there you go. Big thank you to anybody who donates to this cause. It means the world to us. Alright, I hope people reach out. On to my experiences. When I was 7 years old, my parents bought a waterfront cabin that would ultimately become our summer getaway. We'd spend all summer up there every year. The summer I turned 13, 2003, I remember my older sister and I were laying on the dock, and we could hear something making almost a supersonic thudding sound. The cabin is in the middle of the mountains, and there was a lot of bedrock around. It almost sounded like something up the mountain was jumping onto the bedrock with massive weight. Also, later the same year, a Toronto police officer had an encounter during hunting season that is reported to be on the same road as the cabin. copied and pasted his encounter below. I don't know where that would be. No website or anything. Alright, before I start, let me give you my background. I'm 50 years old. I have 2 kids, 2 grandkids, and have been married for over 29 years. And have been a Toronto police officer for over 28 years. I started shooting when I was 7 years old, started hunting woodchucks and rabbits when I was 9 or 10 years old. I did a lot of fishing, canoeing, boating, camping, and hiking when I was a kid. I started hunting deer and bear when I was about 14 or 15 and have every year since. And started hunting moose about 14 years ago. My parents were Salvation Army officers and were transferred all over Canada. I've done all the above all over Canada during my younger years and continue now in Ontario, where I permanently reside in Ajax, which is just 10 minutes east of Toronto. For the last 10 years, I've hunted moose about 30 miles northeast of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, near a small town called Wont near Northland Lake. Sounds familiar, unless we heard from somebody in the same area. Over the years, I've seen all kinds of wildlife, but I've never laid eyes on what I saw last week while hunting moose. I thought I was losing my marbles. And that thought was reinforced when I told my brother-in-law, my hunting partner, the story. I later told my wife over the phone my story, and she was intrigued by my story. She apparently told a co-worker who found your site on the internet. When I called her to tell her I was on the way home, she told me of your site and that there were several sightings in Ontario. That's when I realized that maybe I wasn't just seeing things or losing my head. When I got home, I checked out your site and figured you're the only people I can tell my story to that won't think I'm completely nuts. Anyhow, to my story. Sorry, it's a little long, but it doesn't make sense if I don't tell it all. This sounds familiar, man. I think you're right. You might have sent it a few times and we might have read it. Well, let's do this. I definitely don't remember the beginning with the cancer. My brother-in-law and I were hunting moose just northeast of Sault Ste. Marie. On Tuesday, 14, 2003, I went up an old trail to where I came to a dead end. I got stuck on my ATV in the mud, but managed to get out and turn around. I went partway back down the trail to where I found a clearing and parked on the west side where I could see about 200 yards north and south. I stopped there at about 7:45 a.m. I put on some moose, cow, and heat urine scent on the surrounding trees, and a few minutes later did a cow call on my horn. We read that one. We read it. Alright, well, I guess I got the one without the cancer mentioned, so I guess that's an important part we gotta share, right? Alright, one more. Finally Telling My Encounter is the title of this one. My name is Junior. I'm an avid watcher of your show, and I'm grateful for the non-bullshit message that you give to the public. Thank you for all your dedication and hard work. These are my accounts of Sasquatch. Upon leaving my military endeavors in the desert and around the world, I had a hard time adjusting to civilian life. I left Oklahoma, went to the mountains of Oregon to find myself. Long trip short, I found myself in the dead of winter in a tent up on King Mountain, a ways out of Wolf Creek. One night during a whiteout, I heard what I can best describe as a mix between the largest cat scream and elk bellow I've ever heard. This yell had a massive diaphragm behind it, or so I thought. I rose around and listened carefully to try to hear what it was. Not long after, I heard the same mixed scream again from down the way. Out of nowhere behind me came a growl/yell that tuned in somewhere between 10 1,000-pound grizzlies and a massive bullhorn. This yell literally caused my internal organs to hurt. I may have been 20 yards behind me and was effing massive. I pulled my 9mm out and sat there listening as my heart thundered in my ears repeatedly. I can now hear the breathing of the mass behind me, and I'm in no position to cause threat. My 7 mag is in my truck 50 feet away. I start to panic. Something I'm not accustomed to, I might add. I searched in the dark as quiet as I could to find my truck keys. I pushed the panic button and nothing happened. Maybe the thick snow is interfering? I moved to the edge of the tent and hold the key bulb up high and pushed the button. As soon as my truck alarm sounded, I heard what seemed to be a T-Rex from Jurassic Park tear through the woods behind me, and then I heard a loud crash of metal and glass came from my truck. I pushed the button to stop the alarm, and I sat in total darkness for what seemed like hours, waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to tear through my tent walls and end it all, and nothing happened. After what seemed like an eternity, I went outside, and all was eerily quiet. 9mm in hand, I moved toward my truck and my rifle. Upon arrival, I found a boulder, the diameter of a 55-gallon drum halfway through my windshield, resting on my hood. What the F could throw a boulder this large? I got my rifle and a box of shells and went back to the tent. After a long night of no sleep, I went out at daybreak to look around. I found prints, 4 to 6 inches bigger than my size 12 prints. Bigger than my size 12, and prints about my size 2. Further investigation toward the first scream led me to find smaller prints around 8 to 10 inches. Holy shit, the light bulb came on. This is a family of Sasquatch. 2 years later, I teamed up with a Wolf Creek local and took up living in a school bus on an old mining claim and planned to dredge with him. We had a big pit bull that we kept on a logging chain outside. We lived very simply. Sitting around the fire one night, the dog started to go crazy, barking toward the river and trying to break its chain. Being about a 12-pack in, I yelled into the direction the dog was barking and fired off a warning shot and thought nothing of the matter. Hours later, asleep in the bus, I felt a jolted movement and sat up. The bus moved again. I stood to look out the windows, and even with the spotlight, I couldn't see anything. I went out and found the dog hiding under the bus, shaking and scared. As I knelt down to check on him, something hit the ground beside me, and I figured it was pine needles or something until a rock hit the bus beside my hand and went straight. And I went straight in the bus and killed the light. I tried to wake up my buddy, and he told me to shut up and go back to sleep until the bus rocked from side to side, and he sat straight up and didn't move. I handed him the rifle and grabbed the spotlight to look out the windows. As I was looking out the driver's side, I felt a slap on my right shoulder and turned around to find my buddy pointing to the back emergency door. 10 feet away, staring at me through the glass, was a massive being. His eyes and mine were at the same level, toward the top of the glass window. His shoulders were wider than the door. I could hear that all too familiar low rumble breathing, and I could see the fog from his breath on the window. He had a basketball-sized head with human characteristics, very large, square, stained teeth, and massive pupils of pitch black. His mouth had to be almost 3 times as wide as mine. I only seen him blink once. He had a massive broad chest with mostly dark hair, covered gray areas, and scars in between the patches. Standing in dead silence, he took a deep breath and yelled directly at me, damn near breaking my ribs from the vibration. He picked up the back of the bus and dropped it suddenly without strain. I knew we were going to die. When the bus fell, I could feel the tires hit the ground, and then the shell hit the leaf springs, just like jumping a bridge on a dirt road. He yelled at me once more and walked off into the darkness, and that was it. Nothing else happened all night long. I think they like watching humans squirm after they scare the living shit out of them. My assessment is that he had to be 9 foot plus tall and close to 850 pounds. The idea of the amount of strength he displayed is not something I can wrap my head around. I now carry a 500 S&W with special high-grain armor-piercing ammunition and a .365 Win mag, which is for a last resort only. I'm not sure it's enough. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all you do to get the truth out there. And there you go. Another member. You know, that's another somewhat of a pattern. Is how so many people with firearms, large rifles, large caliber rifles, every single person's always said they don't think it's enough. That's pretty intimidating, right? Pretty intimidating being. And then the picking up vehicles and putting them down, that's happened lots of times too. Just over here, a handful of miles to my right, that'll be the southeast, not too far from Port Renfrew. An angler hauling his boat in the dark reported that they stopped to go pee in the pitch black, and something started shaking the living shit out of the boat, and he thought it was an avalanche, jumped in the truck and pinned it. They started driving for a ways before they stopped, and then they realized that there wasn't any slope, there wasn't any hill, there wasn't any nothing there, just flat ground. But something had picked up the back of the boat and shook the shit out of enough to bend the tongue in the trailer, and he couldn't get it off of his ball edge. And what else? There's another one that always stayed imprinted in my head with these hunters with a tow camper, was a trailer camper behind the truck in Alberta. And there's 4 men in there sleeping, and something picked up the back of that trailer and shook it like a box of frickin' marbles and threw it on the ground again. Happens a lot. Then we had another man, an American, I believe, and his dog. We're up near Hudson Hope. I know you're probably still avidly watching, and he had a massive, terrifying being looking through the back of the van at them with red glowing eyes. I can't remember, did he pick up the van or not? Shake it a bit? I can't remember it. I just remember that story though. And he said it looked absolutely up. His expression was rage. But anyway, I'm gonna cut this short because I got this wind, sun in my face, wind at the back. It's not comfortable, too much noise, and we got to get into shore. And I have to try to find out if our friend is home in her village, and see if we might be able to pull off going down there. Might even stay the night. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Yeah, anyways, I'm going to go in, cut this short. It's Canada's birthday yesterday. There's a handful of people that snibbled a bit about me, saying maybe a negative about it, but it's kind of like this. The way to describe us in Canada right now, and maybe not in trying to keep a smile on your face, it's kind of like the relationship we have with this country right now. It's kind of like having a spouse that's beating the living crap out of you non-stop, but you're not saying anything and pretending it's not happening. I think that would be a good way to describe the feeling of yesterday, being in Canada, being what is called a Canadian, and celebrating the birthday of this country, because this country currently is absolutely abusing the people. Absolutely. Stripping us of freedom so rapidly and so severely that it's mind-boggling. Some people have mentioned to have some respect because of all the people that died to bring us the freedom of this country. Well, this country has no respect for those people right now. They're probably rolling in their graves at what's going on in this country. So, sorry, shoot the messenger, but I'm not the guy that keeps his mouth shut about the truth. And the truth is, Canadians and their relationship with this country right now is like an abusive spouse who's beating the piss out of you in private, and nobody's saying anything, and everybody's pretending that they're not, when really it's not the truth. So there. That makes you angry? I don't care. That's the truth, and that's what's going on. What are we going to do? In a year from now, we're going to celebrate Canada with a rest in peace celebration, like a wake. There you go. Okay, I'm going in. Get some food in me. I might be getting hangry. But I'll be back.
Huh? Now I wait to see what the hell we're doing.
what we call them, is it?
Man, that'd take a while. And this is how you come down.